So I'm going to give my thoughts and opinions on the final, on the game, on both teams, what it means for both teams, both managers, the future, etc. Because, I mean, we've got quite a bit to discuss about this. So let me know in the comments below any of your thoughts on this final, on this game, whether you're a Spurs fan, United fan, or a neutral. And yeah, let's get into it now. I think the best place to start is let's just talk about the game as a whole, and I'll give my thoughts on the game as a whole, and then I'll delve deeper into Spurs and United and what this sort of means and this result. Now, going into this game, I said in my prediction preview video, I had no idea what to expect. Because these two teams have been so bad this season, I genuinely had no clue what was going to happen. It could have ended 5-5 or it could have ended 0-0, I genuinely had no idea. But in the end, I think we sort of got maybe the most likely outcome in terms of it was a game of not much quality, to be honest. Not much attacking quality, not too much defensive quality as well, and a game of very few chances, a game of sort of, broken up with a lot of fouls, and yeah, it wasn't necessarily the greatest game to watch in terms of a spectacle, but it did have some drama, which did want to see, and in the end, yeah, there was only one goal that separated it, and I would say Spurs for me probably were the better side. I mean, I don't think there was really much in it at all, but, well, I mean, you look at this, right? Spurs only had 3 shots the entire game, 1 shot on target, and yet they still created more XG with 27% of possession than Manchester United, which just shows how United were just so bad in this game. They were absolutely abysmal in this game. And yeah, I think overall, even if Spurs didn't really do too much for themselves, they defended very well, and once they got their goal, I do have to give them massive credit in terms of the way they held on to that lead. I would say up until the goal, it was quite even. Not really a lot was happening. Both teams never really had a clear opportunity up until the goal, which the goal, I mean, was just, honestly, if there was a game to summarise this game, if there was a goal to summarise this game, it would be that goal. Just absolute, like, comical, weird, funky goal. Like, just what on earth was that goal? I have no idea. But it suits these two teams, right? This season. And then after the goal, in the second half, Spurs shut up shop, and fair play, because defensively they didn't have a single shot in the second half. They had 20% possession, yet they weren't really like under siege. They weren't getting battered by Man United, and they let United have the ball, but they defended well, and in the end held on for their 1-0 win. So it wasn't the greatest game to watch, but Spurs managed to get the job done, and we go into Spurs here. Well, what an achievement! What an achievement! Look, I'm a Chelsea fan, and it's a sad sight, I will say. It's tough for me to say this, but yeah, Spurs winning a trophy, it feels weird. It's foreign to me. It's crazy as a Chelsea fan. But look, I have to give them credit for this game, because they were very, very good. Well, defensively, I thought they were very good. Even if we'll get into United, even if United were very poor, defensively Spurs were amazing. I mean, some of the performances that individuals put in, they stepped up in this game. They really did. Throughout the season, really, Tottenham players have not stepped up. A lot of these players on the pitch have had some awful, awful seasons, right? Yet for this one game, the biggest game of their season, they delivered. And you do have to give them massive credit. Players like Christian Romero, wow. I don't know how he's only got a 7.2, to be honest. He was an absolute rock at the back. He was imperious, a proper leader. That was a proper leader. He was a captain while Son was on the bench, and he led from the back. He was putting in block after block after challenge after challenge. He was just absolutely phenomenal. And yeah, as I said, a lot of these Spurs players actually haven't been good this season. Romero, I think, has actually dipped this season. He hasn't actually shown those leadership characteristics. But when it mattered most, he did. Alongside him, Mickey van der Ven with maybe the defining moment of this game, actually. That clearance, it was the only real big chance United had in this game, and Van der Ven, wow. That is going to go down in Spurs history. People are going to be talking about that clearance. It was absolutely incredible. The athleticism, it's unreal. It's unreal, and well done to Mickey van der Ven for that. Udogie and Borrow, fullbacks. I mentioned in my preview that the wide areas is somewhere Man United could have some joy, because these two defensively are not the greatest in the world. But in this game, they showed up defensively so solid, so solid. Basuma and the midfield in general, the flat three, Saar, Bentancur, Basuma, so much industry, so much work rate. Without Maddison, Kulusevski and Bergvall available, these had to turn up, and they definitely delivered. They maybe didn't give the creativity on the attacking front which those other three players have, but what they gave was work rate, and I think it stifled Man United a lot in terms of defensively. These guys and their defensive work rate was just fantastic, and they put a great job on Bruno, who we'll get on to, but they definitely locked him down, really. Brennan Johnson, I mentioned in my preview, he's had his moments this season. He's not really been too consistent. He was going to have to step up in this game with some big attackers missing. And yeah, I mean, he was a hero. I'm not entirely sure how much he meant it. I thought it was actually a Luke Shaw goal, if I'm being honest. It was a calamitous goal, really. But at the end of the day, he came up with a defining moment. And Solanke and Richarlison, their work, I mean, you can't discredit it. What a performance for the team. I mean, these two left it out on that pitch. The defensive work rate from these two was absolutely ridiculous. Solanke, by the end of it, I mean, this guy, he covered so much ground. I don't know if it says it here, but this guy was just everywhere, right? Look at that. 7 aerial duels won, 2 grounds duels won, 9 duels won in total. I mean, this guy was just, he was running around, pulling in the work for his team. And same thing with Richarlison, who we've all sort of clowned in the past, we've all sort of memed, but he absolutely left it out on that pitch, and he was fantastic defensively. His hold-up play was really good. And yeah, it was a bit of a surprise to see him in the starting 11, of course, ahead of Son, the captain, but I think he definitely showed why he started. Son came off the bench, and yeah, played his part too with his defensive work rate. Danzo came on, shut up shop. It was just absolutely incredible. Vicario, I mean, to be honest, he was one of the only Spurs players who throughout the game was pretty shaky, was quite poor, and actually could have cost Spurs. I mean, we all know his problems, Vicario. He's a good keeper, it's just his sort of dominance in the air, collecting crosses, is such a weak point, and it's really bad, and it did almost cost his team. But in the end, it didn't. And in the end, actually, he kind of became the hero with that last-minute save against Luke Shaw. So all is forgiven. But he almost did cost his team, to be fair. Yeah. That's really it in terms of the Spurs game. But if we're talking about Spurs as a whole, I mean, this man right here, Ange Postecoglou, I have to give props to. Because he got his game plan spot on. It was a defensive masterclass actually in the end from Spurs, which you don't really associate with Ange Ball. The sad thing is, it's like, where the hell has this been all season, you know? Where has his ability to just shut up shop defensively been all season? I do not know, but it doesn't really matter. Maybe one of the coldest quotes, coldest lines in football history. I always win something in my second season, and well, he delivered on his promise. I mean, fair play, mate, fair play, Ange. The edits are gonna go hard. I'm sure they're already going hard, but yeah, look, it's been a woeful season for Spurs in the league. However, this, I mean, it doesn't take away from how bad a season it's been, but it kind of does, if you get what I'm saying, right? Like, this is now going to be remembered as the year they ended their trophy dug. This is going to be remembered as the year they got European silverware, against all odds. Now, there are still, of course, massive problems with this Spurs team, and they need to be addressed. That's sort of what I'm saying here, but they don't care right now. Enjoy the moment, right? It's a great achievement. Now, what happens in the future? Oh God, I don't know, because I mentioned this in my preview. There's still a possibility Ange leaves. There really still is, just because of how bad they've been in the league. I would say probably stays now. I think he's probably going to stay. They are, of course, now in the Champions League, so it's going to help them massively in terms of attracting players. I think in the summer they can definitely spend a lot more money. They can shop in a higher market, a higher attraction of some players potentially. I think they can get rid of some of these players as well. Sort of cut the squad, and yeah, really, maybe it can be used as a platform to kick on. I don't know. There's still lots of holes in this team, but it's definitely a great thing to get a trophy after so many years. What, 17 years? Yeah, 17 years without a trophy is insane. And well, I mean, this year has really been the year of not the underdog, because Spurs were sort of like tipped as one of the favourites at the start of the season to win the Europa League, but it's been the year of, I guess, ending trophy ducks, right? Spurs have done it here. Palace did it with their FA Cup win. Newcastle did it with the Carabao Cup win. Even across the continent, right? Bologna in Italy ended their run without a trophy, winning the domestic cup there. Champions League, we have PSG versus Inter, where PSG could win their first ever Champions League title, or Inter could win their first in like over a decade. Maybe even in the Conference League, I hope not, but Real Betis could win their first trophy in a very, very long time. So this has really been the year. Harry Kane as well won a trophy. This has really been the year of ending trophy droughts, and Spurs have done it. Harry Kane winning a trophy and Spurs winning a trophy in the same season. I mean, who would have thought that at the start of the year? Also, what a great moment for Heung-min Son, by the way, because, you know, as much as I dislike Spurs as a Chelsea fan, and it was painful for me to see them lift that trophy, I couldn't help, you know, feel a bit happy for Heung-min Son, because Son definitely deserves a trophy for all he's done at Spurs, for how good he has been. He is a legend in the modern day for Spurs. So to finally get a trophy as captain as well of a club is a great moment for him. And yeah, through gritted teeth, I will say congratulations to Spurs. But if we talk about Manchester United now, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Wow. I mean, whoever lost this final, they were going to get absolutely cooked. And really, whoever lost this final, their whole season was going to change in terms of perspective. This final is a chance for both clubs to sort of redeem their season. It was a lifeline. It was a chance to right the wrongs of this entire year and make people forget about just how awful a season it's been in the Premier League. Yet, if you watched that game, you wouldn't think it from a Man United perspective. You would think it from a Spurs perspective, the way they all dug in and worked for that win. But from a United perspective, it honestly felt like another game. It felt like, yeah, whatever, man. It felt like one of those warm-up games in the Premier League where they rotated their entire squads, because there was just no intensity, there was no passion, there was no heart, there was no desire, there was no drive, there was no urgency, there was just nothing. It didn't feel like it was do or die at any point for United. It didn't feel like this was a final. It felt like they were just playing a normal game, as I said. And where I said, pretty much every Spurs player, they've had awful seasons, yeah, but this one game, because it was do or die, because this was their season, they all delivered, they all stepped up in this one game. I mean, it was a complete opposite for United. They all just reverted back to type. None of them stepped up, none of them said, this is a final, this is our season on the line, let's step up. Onana, just as always, shaky and dodgy. I mean, I'm not going to completely blame him for that goal, but I mean, yet again, sort of indecision to come get crosses and stuff just didn't help the teams. Luke Shaw, same thing with the goal. Casemiro, just poor. Ahmad started the game off well, but overall poor. Højlund, yet again, just does nothing up top. Mason Mount, I mean, I have no idea why the hell this guy even started this game, but he did absolutely nothing. Bruno Fernandes, I don't know who gives these foot mobs rating, by the way. How's he got a 7.4? I mean, Bruno Fernandes, that was generally one of the worst games of the season from him. He has carried United this entire year, but what the hell was that? That was absolutely awful. Yeah, he just didn't deliver anything. As I mentioned, this sort of flat free man midfield just completely locked him down. He couldn't do anything. He generally couldn't. Now, of course, he needed some help and he did not get it, but Bruno, these big games, these big moments, these European finals, a player of your quality, I'm expecting you to perform, I'm expecting you to step up, and you didn't, quite frankly. But the whole United team didn't. I mean, Garnacho off the bench was maybe the only player I could say you actually maybe tried to, give that urgency, tried to do something, tried to win the game on his own. But yeah, just in general, a lack of urgency, a lack of desire. They didn't threaten Spurs at all. They had 80% possession in the second half. They had all of the ball and they couldn't do anything. they couldn't do anything. It's just embarrassing. It's really embarrassing. The crazy thing is, Man United in the quarter-final stage showed more desire, more passion to win the game against Olympic Lyon than they did in the actual final. In this game, they were down and out, and yet they were like, guys, we need to rally together. They showed heart, they showed desire, they showed passion, they showed urgency, intensity. They put Lyon under siege, and they grabbed those goals and they clawed themselves into the semi-finals. And then when you get to the final, I mean, you do all of that, you go through all of those hard yards just to get to the final and then go out on a whimper and don't even show that same level of hunger to win the game. It's just so embarrassing. And Ruben Amorim, by the way, as well, needs to take a lot of blame for this, because firstly, these players, they need to take the blame for that, as I mentioned, urgency, that passion, but Amorim did not instill that either. I'm sorry, your first changes are in the 71st minute. Are you kidding me? Man United could have played. It was pretty clear from half time really that Man United, if this current team which started the game was not going to create a chance, this team was not going to score a goal. They needed changes. They needed something. They needed some sort of change in system. They need some sort of fresh legs, and yet you wait to the 71st minute to make a change. It's absolutely ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. As I mentioned, Mount starting ahead of Garnacho, weird. I'm guessing Agate was probably got a knock or something, but I don't know why he didn't play. That felt strange to me, because Agate, I think, has actually been pretty good, and actually, if you had Agate with Casemiro in the midfield, you might have been able to combat this sort of athleticism that this three-man midfield of Spurs had. But yeah, look, Ruben Amorim. Now, what happens with him is the question. I said before this final that I didn't think he was going to get sacked. I still think he might keep his job. I think he probably will. But if someone's Amorim out, I mean, I would completely understand it, because at this point, this was his chance to get some credit in the bank. This was his chance to say, hey, look, I inherited a bad situation. I've only been here half a season, but I've delivered us a trophy. I've delivered us to the Champions League. Trust me and trust the process. Back me in the summer. Now, it's all gone. And now we're looking at Ruben Amorim very, very differently. And that is why, of course, the calls to get him sacked will be there, because now we're looking at the Ruben Amorim tenure, and you've led Man United their pretty much worst ever Premier League finish. You've led them to 16th in the league, not even getting 40 points. You have given United a trophyless season. You're out of European football. There is no passion, there is no desire in this team. There's a lot of players have regressed actually under you. Not many players have actually improved the system, the tactics, the performances in games are not good enough. So really, what is there? What is there for a Man United fan to latch on to with Ruben Amorim? He hasn't really given them any sort of any substance since he's come in to say he's the man. This was his chance to do that with a win here, but he didn't do it. And he actually produced, honestly, one of the worst performances from a team in a European final I've seen in a very long time. It really, really was. It really was. So yeah, what happens with Amorim, I don't know. But we'll see. Man United, oh god, maybe, this could honestly be a bit of a blessing in disguise, because hey, maybe some harsh truths are gonna come out here, because if he had won this game, it could have maybe papered over the cracks. Some players could have been staying a bit longer, and stuff, but maybe now they're gonna cut the squad. They're gonna say, okay, we're out of Europe entirely. It's been a disastrous season. We need change. We need to sort something out. We need to get rid of a lot of players. We need to bring in a whole new squad, and maybe we need to get in a new manager as well. But yeah, that is really my thoughts on the final. Credit to Spurs once again, I guess, who have ended their trophy drought, but what an awful performance from Man United. If you guys have enjoyed this video anyways, please do leave a like,